I want you to picture the date. It is December 23, 2025, 2 days before Christmas. The time of year where, let's be honest, everyone is mentally checked out. You're wrapping gifts, you're dodging family calls, and if you're at work, you're probably just moving the mouse so your computer doesn't go to sleep.
It's the universal do not disturb period of the calendar.
Exactly. It is supposed to be quiet, but in the City of Eunice, specifically in the inbox of the city manager,
Right.
it was anything but quiet.
Right.
Because at 2:16 p.m., right in the middle of that holiday lull, a document lands that just blows the doors off the administration building.
And this wasn't a holiday greeting card.
Definitely not. We are looking at a resignation letter today.
Right.
But to call this a resignation letter feels like calling Moby Dick a pamphlet about fishing.
Right. It's technically true, but it misses the entire point.
It misses everything.
Right.
This comes from Detective Jessica Lopez, badge #73, and instead of this standard, thank you for the opportunity, she drops a manifesto.
It's a heavy, dense read. It involves the city manager, Shannon Cummins, and Danny Garrett. And the subject matter, it goes from workplace politics to allegations of actual surveillance in just 3 pages.
So our mission today is to unpack this thing. Because Detective Lopez isn't just quitting. She's documenting what she calls a constructive discharge. She's talking about retaliation, her safety.
And fleeing the city she served.
Exactly. And we also have to talk about the response she got, because when you put these allegations next to the administration's reply, well, the contrast tells a story all on its own.
It certainly does.
So let's get into the weeds. December 23rd, the letter hits the inbox. And Detective Lopez starts right out of the gate with a phrase that should make any HR professional sweat. She says this resignation is submitted under protest.
That is a very specific flag. She is establishing the playing field immediately. When you resign under protest or claim constructive discharge, you are saying, I'm not leaving because I want to. I'm leaving because you've made it impossible for me to stay.
Let's pause on that term, constructive discharge. We hear it on TV shows, but what does it actually mean in the real world? Is it just, I hate my boss, so I'm quitting? Or is the bar higher?
The bar is significantly higher. In a legal context, it means the employer has created working conditions that are so intolerable, so hostile, that a reasonable person would feel compelled to resign.
So it's not just annoyance.
No, it's about the environment being fundamentally broken to the point where quitting is the only logical survival mechanism.
So it's basically a firing in disguise. You just squeeze them until they leave.
Precisely. And Lopez lays out a very clear timeline of how that squeeze happened, beginning with something she calls the March investigation.
Right. She mentions she was placed on administrative leave back in March. But here's the critical part. She says the investigation resulted in no findings.
Which is the administrative way of saying not guilty. There was no evidence to support whatever she was accused of.
So in a perfect world, that should be the end of it, right? Sorry for the inconvenience, detective. Here's your badge back.
That is how it should work. But Lopez describes a lack of transparency and unaddressed workplace hostility that lingered long after. See, in law enforcement, your reputation is your currency. If you're investigated for months, taken off duty, and then brought back without a clear "she didn't do it" from leadership, that cloud never really lifts.
It's the hallway whispers. She mentions that coworkers were undermining her integrity and that the administration did nothing to correct the harm. It sounds like she was just stuck in purgatory. She's cleared, but she's not welcome.
And she says she raised this. She says she brought these concerns up in good faith and was ignored. That is step 1 of the constructive discharge argument. I told you there was a problem and you let it fester.
But then comes step 2, and this is where the squeeze gets, well, literal. While she's still on leave, so she hasn't even stepped back in the office yet, she gets approached about a new opportunity.
The retaliatory reassignment, as she calls it.
They want to move her. She's a detective with over 7 years of experience. But the department suddenly decides she'd be a great fit for a school-based role.
Or a hybrid detective and school resource officer. Now, to the average person, that might sound fine. Hey, working in schools is important. And it is.
Sure.
But we have to look at this through the lens of police hierarchy and culture.
Okay, break that down for us. Why is this a red flag for her?
In many departments, the detective bureau is a coveted assignment. You work cases, you have a certain autonomy. Moving from detective to a school resource officer role, especially when you didn't ask for it, is often seen as a demotion.
It's being sidelined.
Or put in a box where you can't cause trouble. Lopez calls it a material departure from her established role. And she explicitly says she never expressed interest in it.
And it wasn't just the job description. It was the hours. She mentions a material change to work schedule, moving her to a shift she hadn't worked in 7 years.
That is a classic tactic. If you want someone to quit, you mess with their schedule. You disrupt their childcare, their sleep, their family time. It's a way of exerting control.
And she's very open about what this did to her. She doesn't, try to act tough. She describes work-related distress, daily anxiety, physical symptoms. She says she was living in fear of being targeted for minor or pretextual reasons.
That word pretextual is doing a lot of work there. It means she felt leadership was watching her like a hawk, waiting for her to make a typo or be 1 minute late.
Anything.
Just so they could discipline her for it.
It's that walking on eggshells existence. You can't do your job if you're terrified that doing your job is going to get you fired.
Exactly. And if the letter stopped there, it would be a very strong case of workplace toxicity. But it doesn't stop there.
No, it does not. This is where the story, it just takes a turn that I really didn't see coming. We move from the HR office to the streets of Eunice.
The section titled Personal Safety and Community Impact.
Lopez alleges that despite being cleared, she and others were still referred to as guilty by people in the department. But then she says the conflict moved to her front door. She describes police vehicles passing her residence at a frequency that she, as an officer, calls highly unusual.
She believes she was being watched, not by criminals, but by her own colleagues.
And she gives a very specific example, December 16th, just a week before she wrote this letter. She names an officer, Robert Blanchard.
And she alleges Officer Blanchard was driving slowly near her home, but, and this is the crucial detail, he wasn't looking at her.
He was looking at her fiancé, John Fray. Now, we need to stop the tape for a second, because who is John Fray?
The letter identifies John Fray as the former chief.
The former chief of police.
Who was terminated during the same investigation that started this entire cascade of events.
But then you have Officer Robert Blanchard. And this is a detail that really changes the flavor of the story. Blanchard is a new hire.
Right. He was brought in by the new chief, Danny Garrett, and he came from Hobbs PD.
Exactly. So you have the old guard Lopez and her fiancé, the former chief, and you have the new guard Chief Garrett and his new hire, Blanchard. This isn't just a co-worker dispute. It feels like a regime change purge.
And Lopez alleges that Blanchard had been very vocal about his allegiance. She says he stated verbally that she and Fray were guilty, even though the investigation found no findings against her.
Which contributes to that hostile environment. But then comes December 16th. This is the incident that seems to have broken the camel's back.
December 16th, Lopez is at home. She observes Officer Blanchard driving near her residence. Now, seeing a police car in a small town isn't that unusual, but she says he was driving slowly, and he wasn't just patrolling.
No. She alleges he was pointing. Her fiancé, John Fray, the former chief, was outside, lawfully hauling a load to the dump. Blanchard was allegedly driving slowly, staring at him and pointing at him.
Unprovoked, unnecessary. No traffic stop was initiated, just watching and pointing.
Think about the power dynamic there. You have a police officer, someone with the full authority of the state, a badge, and a gun engaging in behavior that Lopez describes as creating a reasonable perception that we are being monitored or targeted.
It's intimidation, pure and simple.
It is. When a civilian drives by your house slowly and points at you, it's creepy. When a uniformed officer brought in by the new chief does it to the old chief, that sends a very specific, very dangerous message. Lopez writes that it resulted in her no longer feeling safe living in the community.
That is a profound statement for a police officer to make. I am a cop and I don't feel safe in my own city because of other cops.
This is a detective, someone who carries a badge and a gun, someone who's trained to handle dangerous situations. And she is saying she has to flee her own city to feel safe.
It creates a chilling effect, doesn't it? If a detective doesn't feel safe because of the police department, how is the average citizen supposed to feel?
And she goes even darker. She mentions the financial instability of moving, sure. But she also mentions fearing adverse actions related to essential services. She lists utilities and sanitation.
Just think about the implication there. She's afraid the city might weaponize the water department or the trash collectors against her. She has lost trust in the entire municipal machine.
That is dystopian. Fearing the garbage truck because it has the city logo on the side.
It shows a total breakdown of the social contract between an employee and the institution. When you reach that level of paranoia or justified fear, depending on your perspective, resignation is the only card you have left to play.
So she plays that card December 23rd. She hits send. She outlines the hostile environment, the retaliation, the stalking, the forced relocation. It's a cry for help and an indictment all in one. Now, let's talk about the response.
This is where the bureaucratic wall just comes right down.
If I sent a letter to my boss saying, my coworkers are stalking my family and I have to move, I would expect, I don't know, a phone call, a frantic email asking, are you okay?
You'd expect a human response.
So what did Detective Lopez get? Let's look at Chief Garrett's response, sent the same day, December 23rd.
Garrett's reply is the absolute epitome of institutional damage control. It's one sentence. I have received and reviewed this letter of resignation. That's it.
One sentence. For a letter that accuses one of his officers of stalking and claims his own conduct led to her being forced out.
No empathy. Zero. It's completely sanitized. Then we get the reply from the city manager, Shannon Cummins. This comes a few days later, on December 29th. And this one is special.
Walk us through it.
Okay. The email says, received. Thank you.
Wait, read that again.
Received. Thank you.
With an exclamation point.
Yes. Received. Exclamation point. Thank you.
The tone deafness there is staggering.
It feels like she's confirming a lunch order. Turkey sandwich. Received. Thank you.
Nah.
It signals a complete dismissal of the content of the letter. By treating it as a standard transaction, the administration is essentially saying, we accept your departure, but we are choosing to ignore your reasons.
It's a way of sanitizing the situation. They get the result they want. She's gone, without acknowledging the mess she left on their doorstep. But we have to talk about the signature block.
I had a feeling you're going to fixate on this.
I can't look away from it. At the bottom of Shannon Cummins' email, the city manager who just breezed past allegations of stalking. It's a quote. Read it for us.
Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. C.S. Lewis.
You cannot be serious. It's almost too perfect. You have a detective resigning specifically because she claims people are watching her. She's alleging surveillance.
She's alleging that the department lacks integrity, that they conduct pretextual investigations, that they intimidate former chiefs hauling trash. And the official response from the city manager is a quote about how integrity is what you do in the dark. Lopez's letter is all about demanding accountability for actions taken in the dark. And the response offers a philosophical maxim about acting right in the dark. It just underscores this profound disconnect.
The city manager projects this image of high moral ground C.S. Lewis doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Detective Lopez is checking her security cameras.
It really encapsulates the entire conflict.
Wow.
One side sees integrity, the other side sees hypocrisy.
Do you think Cummins even realized? Or is that just the auto signature she has on every single email?
It is almost certainly an auto signature, but that's the problem with bureaucracy. It runs on autopilot. No one stopped to think, hey, maybe I should delete the inspirational quote about integrity before I reply to the woman accusing us of lacking it.
It proves that no human being truly sat with this letter. You cannot read those allegations, feel the weight of a 7-year veteran saying, I am fleeing my home, and then allow that signature to go out.
It's a failure of emotional intelligence. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And it just reinforces Lopez's point about the lack of transparency and the deafness of the leadership.
It emphasizes the lack of self-awareness. If you are going to preach integrity, your actions during a crisis need to align with it. When an employee alleges they're being forced out, doing the right thing would involve an immediate inquiry. It would involve calling a meeting. It would involve showing some basic human concern, not a thank you.
It makes you wonder if they even read the letter.
Oh, they read it. Chief Garrett said he reviewed it. They just chose to treat it as a transaction. Employee 73 is gone. Check the box. Move on. They're treating a personnel crisis like a paperwork issue.
But for Detective Lopez, it's not just a checkbox. It's her career. It's her home. She mentions significant financial burden. She mentions accrued benefits. She's trying to salvage what she can from 7 years of service while packing boxes to get out of town.
And remember, she is reserving her rights. The letter ends with her saying she reserves all rights and remedies under applicable law. This isn't the end of the story. It's likely the prologue to a lawsuit.
Which makes the brevity of the responses even riskier. If this goes to court, that received, thank you, is going to be Exhibit A in the argument that the city was indifferent to her suffering.
Absolutely. It demonstrates a lack of curiosity about the allegations. A prudent leader would say, these are serious claims about Officer Blanchard, our new hire. We need to look into this immediately to protect the liability of the city, even if they didn't care about Lopez personally.
But they didn't even do that. They just let her walk.
It's a fascinating, if somewhat depressing, look at how institutions protect themselves, or fail to. We started this by asking if you've ever written a resignation letter in your head. Jessica Lopez wrote hers, sent it, and essentially got a thumbs-up emoji in response.
And that silence, that lack of engagement, speaks louder than any argument they could have made. It essentially confirms her fears. You are not safe here, and we do not care.
It is a sobering look at what happens when an organization breaks down. Whether you believe every single allegation or not, the fact that a detective feels this unsafe in her own city is a tragedy.
It is. And the fact that the response was so casual is a wake-up call.
I keep going back to that quote, integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching.
It's a beautiful sentiment.
It is. But in the City of Eunice, if these allegations are true, plenty of people were watching. They were watching the detective, they were watching her fiancé. But the real question, the one that this letter leaves us with, is who was watching the watchers?
That is the ultimate question of accountability. And judging by this letter, Detective Lopez felt the answer was no one.
And that is a scary place to be. We're going to leave it there for this deep dive, a glimpse into a very tense December in Eunice. Thanks for listening, and thanks for helping us unpack this one.
Always a pleasure. It's a complex story, but an important one.
Stay safe out there.
Yeah.
And maybe check your email signatures. We'll catch you on the next one.